Imagine a luxury mansion featured on a show like Top Billing. I'm talking high ceilings, okay? Marble flooring, swimming pool that catches the light just right, wine cellar, a house that looks like a dream. Now imagine a name attached to this house tied to an NPO that has received nearly 25 million rand from the National Lotteries Commission, funds meant for community causes that ended up in a settlement with a Special Investigations Unit years later. So how did public money intended for South Africans' benefit become connected to a life of luxury? This is the story of the Mshandukani Foundation, the NLC, and a settlement that saw a TV personality repay 50,000 rand and raised questions about millions more. Wait, what happened? If you've been following the news lately, you've probably seen this story framed in a very specific way. A well-known TV personality, an NGO, and a repayment of 50,000 rand to the Special Investigations Unit. The way this story traveled online, you'd think this was the heart of the story. But here's the first important thing to understand. That 50,000 rand is by far not the main investigation. In fact, it was a very small transaction inside a much larger probe into the alleged corruption at the National Lotteries Commission, a probe involving tens of millions of rands, multiple entities, and a non-profit organization at the center of it all. So today we're asking, what actually happened? Who was involved and who wasn't named? And how is the decision made about which details to spotlight and which remain footnotes? This is not a trial and it's not a verdict, it's a timeline. According to the SIU and the Special Tribunal, the core investigation focused around the 24.9 million rand NLC grant. Now, this grant was approved in 2016, and the purpose for it was to fund a nationwide Olympic Roadshow send-off campaign. Here's what investigations later highlighted. The foundation receiving these funds had just been registered only a couple of months earlier, and there was no proven track record for a project of that size, and yet the money was still approved. The funds didn't move directly from the lottery to the NPO. They flowed through SASCOC and then to the Mshandukani Foundation's bank account in multiple tranches. And according to the SIU, within days, large portions of that money began moving again. And now this is the part of the story that becomes less visible to the public, but according to me, far more important. The SIU court papers described how millions were allegedly redirected. There were large payments to a travel agency. There were transfers to private companies that are linked to individuals that are connected to the foundation. There was also direct payments to people associated with the lottery itself. Investigators further alleged that these funds were then later used to purchase a number of things, like 2 properties that are mentioned, a high-value specialized vehicle, and this is why the SIU then approached the Special Tribunal, not for a celebrity appearance fee, but rather for a preservation order to be able to freeze the assets worth nearly 25 million because investigators believed they were purchased using misappropriated public funds. Now, let's go back to that dream house. One of the individuals that are linked to the foundation and listed as a bank signatory had previously appeared on this national television show that showcases luxury lifestyles, luxury homes, and they had appeared on the show with a luxury home that was estimated to be worth tens of millions of rands. Now, of course, this is not necessarily proof of wrongdoing on its own, because having money is not a crime. Living well is also not illegal. But when investigators later allege that the public funds were diverted into private assets, those images start to take on a very different meaning, a completely new meaning, in fact. Not as evidence, but as context. And so naturally, they raise questions. And I think journalism exists to ask those questions. So here's where the story becomes uncomfortable. Because despite a case involving nearly 25 million rand, multiple entities, and years of alleged misconduct, public attention narrowed sharply to one person, one amount: 50,000 rand. The SIU confirmed that 50,000 rand had been repaid as part of the recovery process. But the preservation order, that freezing of properties and assets, quietly did most of the accountability work. No viral headlines, no trending outrage, and no hashtags, just court papers. It's important for us to be a little bit precise here, right? The SIU is a civil investigation body. It doesn't prosecute criminal cases. Its role is to investigate, to recover funds, to freeze assets, and also to refer evidence to the NPA if criminal conduct is suspected. So that means recovering money doesn't automatically mean criminal convictions. Settlements do not actually equal innocence or guilt. And silence after the recovery doesn't mean nothing is happening. It often means the work is happening off camera. But of course, for the public, this creates a bit of a problem, because when only one name is visible and the rest are buried, in legal language, accountability can start to feel selective. So let's be clear, the story is not about this one celebrity. It's also not about canceling anyone, nor is it about turning suspicion into certainty. It's actually about scale. When millions in these funds are misused, why would we be arguing over thousands? When entire networks are outlined in court papers, why do only the most recognizable faces become the story? And when institutions say we recovered the money, shouldn't we be asking who approved it? Who all benefited from it, or who benefited the most even, and what changed so that it doesn't happen again? Because accountability isn't just about who repays what. It's also about whether the full story is ever told, clearly, fairly, and without distractions.